Weeks without us. We are back with our Madison and Mountain View hangout. Today, Gina is going to lead the call, and we're going to discuss a couple really interesting new partnerships and some old ones and how they compare. So, without further ado, Gina, take it away.
Thank you. So one interesting topic that came up that we were all kind of chattering about yesterday that we thought we'd carry over into this morning was how we're seeing technology be used for philanthropic or social good or just good in general, and how brands are getting into that game. So the specific example that we were talking about, and remind me of the actual brand, Ford, there you go, was developing technology that would help to thwart texting while driving. And I think what's really interesting here is social good and brands investing in social good, brands taking a philanthropic angle to their business is nothing new. But I think technology is making it easier for them to get involved and actually letting them put a lot of this research that they're sitting on that a lot of philanthropic organizations don't have access to, can't fund research like that, can't move at their pace, can't put resources against development like brands can. And I think technology is letting brands take advantage of all of the assets and resources and education that they have on hand and actually develop products and make real change instead of just sponsoring events or saying it's the Ford walk for, you know, this cause or that cause. They're actually developing a product that's going to save lives. And I think, you know, as consumers are getting smarter and they're being a little bit more savvy with their dollars and they're investigating brands a little bit more to understand what they really stand for, I think it's going to become an imperative for brands, especially those who play in an industry that has something like texting and driving that's impacting it. Or you think of Anheuser-Busch. I mean, I think we've all sat around the table and come up with, you know, why doesn't Anheuser-Busch have a breathalyzer app? And I'm sure they've looked into it, but I think we're going to see more of this coming to the market in 2015.
Yeah, and I think texting and driving is a especially interesting one because it's a hard one, actually. You know, after we read that article, I was reading a little bit more about other people that have tried to do it. So the way Ford was doing it, which, I don't know, it's very startup in nature. I think it'll be test and learn and see if it works, but it's a messaging system, so it actually notifies people within a group that you set that you're driving and not to notify them. If I were in that group, I don't think I would want to get a text every time somebody that I know starts driving and stops driving.
Yeah.
Another one I saw out of Europe was called Safe Drive, which was trying to gamify and reward you for not using your phone while driving. I still don't quite understand how they were monitoring how you were doing that, but AT&T was sponsoring that, and that's kind of the other side of the coin there from the texting side. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, AT&T actually, in fact, all the wireless carriers came together, and I think they were supporting a campaign called It Can Wait. And I remember when I was checking it out, I was kind of disappointed that the app itself, by the way, was only available for Android and not for iPhone, or iPhone but not Android. And I thought, geez, you know, why are we discriminating based on kind of, you know, operator or carrier, if you will, kind of in terms of operating system, I should say, in terms of who lives and who dies. But what I liked about the idea is that it actually, you know, used the native functionality of the phone, which is when it could tell that you were moving at a certain pace, let's say above 25 or 30 miles per hour, almost like Waze would, it would automatically go into kind of an auto responder. So if I texted you and you were driving, then I would get an auto response back going, you know, Lauren's driving right now and she'll get back to you as soon as she's done. So I kind of like that. I like the native functionality and how they kind of were able to build it in.
Another interesting one I was reading about that actually failed, but I kind of like it is, you know, thinking about how your seatbelt, when it's not on, there's like a beeping sound in your car. There was a dock for your phone, and if your phone wasn't in the dock, there was a beeping sound.
Wow.
But I looked it up, and it had a Kickstarter campaign in the fall, and it only got $250.
Well, that is the perfect opportunity for a brand to step in and just create that. So maybe we should send them that Kickstarter page.
Yeah.
And
the
tell them.
unfulfilled Kickstarter page.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. I also think not only are brands more empowered to develop these kind of technologies, but I think we're seeing a lot of individuals who are not entrepreneurs according to kind of the traditional definition. They're moms or they're students who are experiencing some of these problems. So I think, you know, it was only a month or two ago on the Today Show, they talked about the mom who developed an app that if she didn't hear, you know, if she was calling her child X number of times and they didn't pick up, it had a shut off switch, which is a little bit more, you know, oh, you're in trouble than are you okay? But you can see the application of making sure that the lines of communication between, you know, parents who are expecting to hear from their kids can be kind of made sure to keep that intact a little bit stronger using technology. There was another one. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, like if I were a mom in that situation, I would probably want, if my child didn't pick up a certain number of times, I would want them to ping me automatically with my child's location rather than turning off their cell phone. Because if they're in trouble, turning off their cell phone doesn't help.
Right. Very true.
And iteration.
Exactly. And she was charging. And people were buying it. I believe the app was 99 cents or $1.99, and it was doing fantastic. So it's really interesting to see, I think, too, that, you know, there's no reason that these, you know, apps for good can't also make you a little money, which is always nice. I think we all talked a lot about the Sketchy Neighborhoods app. Is that what it was called?
Yeah, it's called like Sketch.
Oh, yeah, Sketch Factor.
Oh, Sketch.
The Sketch Factor, which was an app that allowed you to rank how sketchy a neighborhood was as you were in that location. So you could open the app, it would find out where you were on the map, it would draw a little geofence around where you are, and you're able to then rank the sketchiness factor. It got a lot of negative feedback because it felt that people were being biased and weren't, you know, were being a bit too judgmental. But, you know, it's public opinion, so I'd be interested in.
What value does that give? Like, you're in a bad neighborhood right now, run? Like,
well, no, you could view the map and see like a heat map where neighborhoods had been voted by the public as being more sketchy or less sketchy. Time to run. And I think that's really interesting. And I think, you know, if these non-entrepreneurs, again, that I believe was just created by a student, who, you know, was not an entrepreneur, wasn't trying to build a business, was just kind of experiencing as she went around her college town, there were areas that she felt less safe in and wanted to record those. So I think it would be interesting then for different brands to step in and maybe take some of the inherent problems that people who haven't maybe thought these things all the way through and put it through the big, more traditional legal machine of a brand, and then put out something to market that really works well for the broader population. So I think that'll
I also thought I thought it's interesting that, I mean, we spoke about kind of drinking and driving and texting and driving, and so certainly, I mean, automotive, this seems like a slam dunk. But when we think about different industries, well, obviously from automotive comes alcohol, and it's not just, you know, drinking and driving, but also being intoxicated. If you think of, you know, if you think of safety with respect to especially females on college campuses, there got to be so many interesting applications there. But even from a social standpoint, you know, just the ability, for example, to test your speech to determine how drunk you are, you know, and how, you know, that itself can actually serve a really higher purpose, besides the embarrassment of kind of saying, oh, guess what, I've drunk too much. But I think there's also that ability to say, you know what, without actually blowing into something or having something that sticks into your iPhone, there got to be ways, again, of tapping into native functionality. So it's kind of interesting when you think about all the different industries. You can almost check them off one by one, as we often do, to kind of say, you know, there's an app for that, and there's, in this case, a societal, you know, benefit to actually thinking of how to innovate these kind of, you know, natural environments or scenarios.
Yeah, I think we're seeing cities do a lot of great work here as well. I think we're very lucky, you know, living in New York. New York has really embraced, especially, you know, previously under Bloomberg, opening up the city's data, the APIs. We have the New York Big Apps Contest. We have transportation hackathons. We have security and safety hackathons. And I think cities and then universities are doing a really good job about, again, opening up their data, opening up their assets, opening up access, and having the community develop all around social good, safety, community betterment. And again, I think, some brands are doing this, but I think, if brands could take a cue from any one of their peers, I think GE would be a fantastic one. And that's, for profit and with quirky, but opening up all of their patents. But I think we'll see more and more when brands kind of hold everything close to them instead of opening up, especially as technology becomes, more cheaper and more accessible, and we're seeing more people develop for their own problems and for social good. The brands that embrace that open up their assets, and that take in what people are developing for social good and then make it better are going to be the ones that win. So in 2015, I'm looking forward to seeing what the city and what different brands and universities come out with, because I think we're on pace and really hitting on an important trend that's only going to get bigger. Any other final thoughts on this topic, anyone?
We have 1 minute.
Well, maybe we don't.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll see you next week at 9. Bye.
Bye.